This week on Monero Talk is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero safely on your iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys and seed. And by xmr.to. Anonymously exchange your Monero into Bitcoin and seamlessly send Monero to any Bitcoin address. Go to xmr.to or use it right in your Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet and xmr.to are trusted and verified by the Monero community. Monero Talk is also made possible from contributions by viewers and listeners like you.
This week on Monero Talk, I interviewed 3 members of the Chinese Monero community: Becky Huang, Scott, and Jindouyun. Becky, aka FutureFan 1, recently published an article on monerooutreach.org titled Monero in China and the West. Scott and Jindouyun recently assisted in translating Mastering Monero. In the interview, we discussed the topics touched upon in the article, like the size of the Monero community in China, and whether people in China are interested in Monero's technological properties, such as being censorship resistant. My takeaway is the Monero community in China is larger than many in the West may assume, but that it has a very long way to grow in terms of adoption and appreciation of Monero's use as digital cash. I hope you enjoy the show and get inspired to reach out to the English speakers of the Chinese Monero community to help spur growth and synergy. Becky touches upon how to get involved at the end of the show. But first, as a special announcement, we briefly speak with Vik Sharma of Cake about their new Android Monero wallet. Monero Talk starts now. All right, Vik, thanks for coming on.
How you doing, Doug?
Appreciate it. So, founder of Cake Wallet, thanks for sponsoring the show, obviously. That's been working out nicely for us. We appreciate that.
Well, you guys are doing good work. I like the new format. Looks very professional. Doesn't look like you're doing it in your basement anymore.
Even though we are.
Even though you are. It doesn't look like it. So I guess it's good work. It looks good.
I guess you wanted to come on to make an announcement about the recent launching of the Android wallet.
Yeah. I mean, obviously on Reddit and Twitter, we've already announced it, but you guys have become the Larry King show of Monero. So I thought it's appropriate to come on here and make the announcement as well. So yeah, this earlier this month, we did launch on Android. Just felt it was a space we were missing out on, the Android space, which is actually worldwide bigger than the iOS space. And it's been I wouldn't say a huge success, but it's definitely been a very good success for Cake Wallet.
Can you share any stats with us on what kind of downloads you're saying? I guess on iOS as well, just kind of an update there on growth.
Yeah, I mean, combined now together, we're seeing over 100 a day installs.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty good. And if we do some marketing, if we do some tweets and things like that, we actually see that number jump up to 150, 160.
Yeah, we are. I am seeing Cake a lot more on Twitter itself, people mentioning Cake. So it seems to be getting out there.
Yeah, and I think somebody posted on Reddit a few weeks back as well that, about marketing for Monero and getting the word out there. So, we're trying to break out of the Monero bubble that we're all in and try to bring some more people into our world. And it's been successful. So, because the installations continue to stay steady, otherwise they'd be declining.
So you've essentially seen steady growth in terms of installs overall over the course of time with iOS. And okay. Yeah. Have there been times where there's been like big upticks and moments where?
Yeah, like I said, the upticks. I mean, initially when you first launch it, everybody wants to try it out. So the first 2-3 days, like massive downloads. Then it kind of tapers off and steady. But we do see an uptick if somebody with a lot of followers, for example, on Twitter would tweet about it, or if we tweet a lot about it, over a 24, 48-hour period, we'll definitely see a jump in the installs.
Do you know, I mean, I know Android is very new, but in terms of iOS, like approximately how many downloads there have been?
Well, I mean, we've only been, after the beta launch, we've only been live for 3 weeks now.
No, right for iOS.
Sorry?
Ignoring Android, I guess just for iOS.
Oh, ignoring Android total installs? I mean, on iOS, unique installs, that's, per Apple ID is about 24,000 right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And on Android, in the last 2.5, 3 weeks, whatever it is that we launched, we're at over, I guess, close to 2,000 installs. Okay. Yeah. A little under 2,000. So it's going as planned, I guess. It's copying the install pattern of iOS when we first launched. Yeah.
Now, I haven't used the Android wallet because I'm an iOS guy, but is it basically it's the same feel and it mimics the iOS wallet pretty closely?
Yeah, I mean, we had to, change the layout around a little bit just because the way Android navigation and keys work a little different than iOS. The iOS one right now is more robust. It's got cloud backup, it's got biometric authentication. Android doesn't have that yet, but it will soon have that in the next few weeks. Then Android will have some other things which iOS won't have. For example, hardware wallets. We'll have that in a few weeks.
When you say can you explain that a little more for anybody who doesn't really understand? What do you mean you'll add this? So just a way to, if you have a hardware wallet, you'll be able to essentially integrate it with your Cake wallet?
Well, exactly. And sign the transaction with your hardware wallet. So, just like you do on GUI or just like you do using the hardware wallet's own software. So that should be pretty good. And a lot of the users are asking about F-Droid, which is like a non-Google repo of Android apps. So we'll get the app on F-Droid as well. I think that seems to be very popular. So those are the...
And the idea with F-Droid is just another place where you can download essentially Android apps, but that's not controlled by Google. So who controls F-Droid? It's just like a decentralized...
Yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest. Okay. I was looking at it, but I'm not sure if it's decentralized, but it seems to be open. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I guess in the Monero community, that's something that they would be excited about, considering their penchant for privacy.
Exactly. I mean, I've gotten some messages saying they refuse to sign up. They have an Android, but they refuse to sign up with Google. And they're waiting for the F-Droid version to try it out. And some people have asked if we could even just build a little download thing on our website where you can just download the APK directly for Android. So that's something we're considering as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you wouldn't need any store. You can just install it straight from our website and use it. So that's something we're considering as well.
Very cool. Yeah. What do you see? I think I had asked you this in the past, but I'll ask you again. What do you see as being like the future of these wallets? Like you had mentioned integrating hardware wallets into the Android one, but do you see potentially hardware wallets maybe becoming obsolete in the future? I mean, I know I personally like using my Cake. It's on iOS. iOS is seemingly very secure device, and I don't need to have another device to worry about. And then also I like the arguments people make, like, well, if you have a hardware wallet, if you're purchasing a hardware wallet, you kind of become a target as somebody that obviously owns crypto, whereas everybody owns a phone. So you're kind of mixed in with everybody else that owns a phone, and you may or may not hold crypto on it. So do you see smartphone wallets potentially overtaking the hardware wallet space?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I know you asked me this question before. It's the same answer as we talked last time. For just the general user out there, just having to now deal with another device is a pain. And on iOS, we have good volume, we have good downloads, and there's no hardware wallet, and it seems to be working fine. But until there's a better solution, than hardware, I mean, we'll definitely support it, at least on Android. But you're absolutely right. I mean, iOS is safe, but then your private keys are there. If you lose your phone, if somebody figures out your PIN, but that's with anything. If somebody figures out your PIN for your ATM or figures out your bank and routing number of your bank account, so anything on your phone, as long as it's in your possession, you're okay.
Yeah,
again,
if you have your private keys written
right?
down, you lose your phone, and then you have to quickly move your Monero, right?
Right. Exactly.
So it does seem like there's practical workarounds there.
Yeah. What else?
I don't know. Any more? Anything else that we should be excited about in terms of what's coming from Cake? Anything else that you could talk about?
I've said it before. I mean, at the in Vegas at the DEF CON, I talked about that. My long-term goal is to add a fiat on-ramp into Cake Wallet, both on iOS and Android. So we continue working on that, but that's a long-term regulatory process, and they definitely make it difficult to do that. Applying for each state and just the paperwork that's involved for each state. It's not easy. You got to do it. Yeah. So that's a long-term goal, to have a fiat on-ramp and make accessing Monero easier for our users. That is a long-term.
How about exchange usage? What are the stats on that? Has that been growing? So you have the exchanges that are integrated into Cake.
And we definitely see a slight growth every month. But I mean, it's not spiking up, but there's just a nice steady growth. We did see a spike when they launched Android, of course, but then after that, it went back to the steady growth, which is still good. Right now, we're seeing volumes of $2 to $3 million dollars a month on the exchange.
Oh wow!
Some of the exchanges, yeah.
And that's mostly Bitcoin to Monero, Monero to Bitcoin?
Right now I think we have 15 coins on there. So, but of course the most popular is Bitcoin to Monero, Monero to Bitcoin. I would say that probably is 90% of the volume, half and half. And as you know, the Monero to Bitcoin is handled by xmr.2. And the other ones are handled by either Morph Token or Change Now. So, but being a Monero wallet, obviously we see the Monero volume and the Bitcoin volume is 90%.
Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to chat about? Or
no, that's good. That's good. Just wanted to come on and pay my respects to the godfather of Monero.
You're the guy.
We see each other in New York all the time.
I'm just the front man. What?
What's that?
I'm just the front man. You're the guy. You're the guy behind the guy.
Yeah, exactly. Very good.
How you feeling about Monero in general? The ecosystem. What are your? Oh, I guess the Fluffy Pony stepping down as lead maintainer. Do you have any opinions, thoughts there?
I think it's a good thing, and I think me, you, and Fluffy Pony talked about this in New York 2 years ago, and he expressed that concern at that time that he doesn't want this to be the Fluffy Pony coin. He wants it to be Monero, and I think for the long term and the decentralization, and just depending on one man type of thing, I think it's a good move that he did. I think in the long run it'll benefit Monero. Yeah.
And then how about Monero development, Monero price? How you feeling about the Monero ecosystem?
I think more people are becoming aware. I mean, if Twitter again is a sounding board of what's happening in the industry, it seems like more people are becoming aware of privacy and are becoming aware of. I mean, of course, Bitcoin's a great project, and it's the first. We all wanted to succeed, but at the same time, a lot of people are seeing the transparency of Bitcoin. You can definitely see more discussion now than ever before online in various areas. Maybe a lot of people don't talk about Monero specifically, but they're talking about privacy and they're looking at at other privacy coins, and you would think eventually they come to Monero and realize it's the best. But definitely, I see a big change over the last year online awareness of privacy and transparency.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, thanks, Vik. I mean, so how do people easily find Cake? Obviously on iOS, on Android, but you guys also have a website as well, right?
Yeah, just go to cakewallet.com and there's links there and you have it in your
yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. And obviously, it's always in the show notes. Did you update the website as well?
Yeah, actually, we just like 2 days ago we launched a new version of the website.
Okay.
And it's funny, on Reddit I saw people talking about great scientific stuff and mathematical great topics, and then Cake Wallet is a new website that's got the most upvotes. That was funny. So no, it's good. It's good to have that much.
Was that all you? Your various accounts?
Community
uploaded?
Yeah, exactly. I logged into my 200 different accounts and uploaded each one. No, it's good. It's nice. I love the Monero community. It's so supportive, and I love the backing of it. It's great.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for sponsoring the show. And we'll leave it at that. Thanks, Vik.
All right. Keep up the good work. Yep. Take care.
Ciao. All right, guys. Thanks for coming on. This is great. Thank you. Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
So where
glad to be here.
Where are each of you located?
China.
But like
mainland.
Where about? Oh, you're all in mainland China?
No, I'm in south of China. I'm not sure, Jindouyun, where are you in China?
I'm in southeast of China. Actually,
I
I lived with the same city with Wookie.
I came from the north part of China, but I have been living in New Zealand since 2014. So yeah, but we get to know each others, and I don't think there are much different between the location of Chinese communities. The members don't have too much. The cultural are similar.
Okay. So yeah, when we had Wookie on a few months, I guess it was back in August, he had talked about the community a little bit. He made it sound like it wasn't that large at the time, that it was mostly a Telegram chat of a few hundred people. Has it since grown, or is there more of a community that he wasn't talking about? What is the state of the Monero community in China? If any of you, maybe Becky, you want to start? I know you wrote the article.
Okay, so may I know when did you have the interview with the Wookie?
In August, like early August.
August. Okay, that's why. Because my article was first wrote in nearly August, I think, but Monaro Outreach published quite late, just in recent 2 days. So that's why actually we have a lot to update in this interview. That's why I also invite Jindouyun and Mr. Scott to join, because they actually did a lot of things in these past few months. Yeah, so Mr. Scott, he actually create Weibo, which is like the Chinese version Twitter, and also start some videos and translate a lot of things, and also organize some like the thing on many other Chinese social medias. So I would like he to introduce what he did in the past few months. And it's much bigger than what I thought. But that's nearly 3 or 4 months ago. But now it's much bigger. And Jindouyun, he actually translated many of the articles in the Monero community. The English community. Because half a year ago, when I started to translate, I couldn't even find any materials in Chinese. And that's why Monaro Outreach wanted me to translate the book Mastering Monero. That's why how I involved in the community. But after a while, we realized that a guy on GitHub already translated some parts of that book, Master of Monero, but we couldn't find the newest update. But finally, I found some new updates in the Chinese medias, but not all of them. So Monero Outreach would like me to organize a team to translate this book, but I just know that Jindouyun and Mr. Scott, they already organized a group of people and completely translated this book. But in order to keep the copyright of translation, they just keep it a secret, but they would like to offer, the PDF version to Master Monero official website. And so after that, and I also translate nearly all the articles on Monero Outreach. But I think they are updating right now. And also, I think Jindouyun also did some before, and because what I can do is just to search the materials on the Chinese main search engine Baidu. So if I couldn't find the translation, I have to do it again. But in China, maybe it's different from in the USA. So in the USA, maybe you just search on, maybe mostly on Google. But in China, there are many other social medias, especially in blockchain industry. So in this industry, there are some specific medias for this industry. If you don't know them, you just don't know them. So you can't find them on Baidu or some kind of public search engines. So it's quite difficult for me to actually find what they did before and what do we have. At that time, the Chinese community was quite small, in my opinion. But I think Chinese people like mining. That's why I went to at that time, do you know QQ? QQ, yeah, QQ is more like the Chinese version Skype, but it's much bigger than Skype. It's like maybe 80 or 90% of Chinese people are on this app. So you can see how big is the population. So I want to check how many people are interested in Monero. So I searched the QQ group of Monero, and at the end, I found the population that's involved in the Monero community is, the numbers is even bigger than that on Reddit. So really? It's quite big.
And these are all people in China that are discussing Monero, or all cryptocurrency.
Yeah, it's discussing Monero, but mostly they're discussing the Monero mining.
Monero mining, okay.
Yes, right. So if in the future there is an international version you can download and try. You enter Monero, you will find all the QQ groups that are about Monero, and each of those groups has thousands of people in it. So it's a huge community.
So is that how most people are getting into Monero in China? Is it through mining, or are people buying over exchanges?
I think that is more about mining. I actually don't know who are those organizers in those QQ groups, but I saw many of the people in those QQ groups about mining, talking about mining, and there are many materials about mining in the QQ groups, which is good because it's quite difficult for the general Chinese people to read those English instructions about mining. So those people, they are actually offer those materials about mining. And also, they also sell and buy the machines in the groups. That's my ideas. That's my understanding of the QQ groups. And also, I used to work for some of the Chinese blockchain medias. So I also check on those medias. but not a lot of them are writing about Monero. If there are some materials, and most of them are about their the trade or their prices or something. So not a lot about the technology or how to build the community or something like that. But after that, I started to write articles and translated the articles from Monero Outreach and published them on one Chinese media called Jianshu. So that's how I met Mr. Scott and Jindouyun. And we, in China, we now mostly communicate through Wechat, which is the most popular communicate method in China. So we actually, each of them have different QQ groups, WeChat groups. I actually also organize WeChat groups through those articles. So because of those articles, we have the WeChat group, which is good because I also met other translators in China and some other engineers or organizers in this community. So I realized they actually did a lot of things, especially in the past few months. Mr. Scott organized the community very well. He organized a donation and a group of engineers, and they also create a mining pool and create a fund for the Chinese community. And Jindouyun and other translators already completely translate Master in Monero. So, which is good. That's what I want to update today. And I would like two of them to introduce what they did in the past few months so more people can understand the Chinese community.
Thank you. Scott, you want to jump in and talk about your perception of the Chinese community a little bit?
Yeah, of course. At first, it's my great honor to come to the interview. I gonna introduce myself first. I have been living in New Zealand more than 5 years, and I learned my major was accounting and finance. So in the early 2018, I noticed Monero. Since that time, I searched on the internet, but I can't find too much information in Chinese medium. So finally I decided to do by myself. As the FutureFan mentioned, maybe the Chinese community maybe not that big, but we in past 1 year we have more than 1,700 followers in my Chinese Twitter, our Weibo channel, and we have more than 900 people, 950, roughly like that, from 0 to 900. So that's quite a lot. And what we have been done, we have been translated the Master in Monero. In last year's August, we only spent 1 month. I think more than 7 people to help to finish it, and we are decentralized, like the foreign Monero community. We don't know each others, but we work together. And what's more, we also set up remote node for the Chinese people, because we hear from the other groups, they just don't like the feeling when they try to use the light wallet from the cell phone. They feel it's quite slow to renew all the blocks. So we just decided to make it out by ourselves. So more than 21 people donation Monero and the Chinese yuan. Now we can support our remote mode for next 30 months. And we also set up a mining pool. It's not for make money, but it's how to say that? Because we set up the mining pool for test the hashing payment system and have people to tell people how to miner use their computers, because we mining Monero just use the Rhythm X. So it's more like the project is more like a non-profit project. And another thing we do daily, just translate all the Twitter, the news on Twitter, and then the Reddit, and maybe Mr. Howard, and Justin and Pony. They are quite popular in Chinese community, because most of our members they can't speak English, and they don't have the Twitter, and because the firewall. So even the YouTube, you know what I mean. So it's just like a separate because the internet problem. But we are quite a lot than you think. But there are more people. They just care about the price. They just want to make money, be rich from the cryptos. So they can't identify the difference between Monero and other private currency, and also the Bitcoin. So they have no idea. They even have no ideas. The Bitcoin can traceable. So we spent a lot of time writing the articles and argue with the Bitcoin maximalist. Just the same as the foreign community, but we can see you people, but maybe you can't see us. But we just like your how to say that, the soldiers in China, fighting with them and do the promotion. And I just keep watching, some people, because some Chinese people just they are the liars and the scheme. So they just use the crypto like a tool. So I keep watching what they are doing, like the Monero Classic. I think that's all. And in the future, we want to set up an exchange for Monero. And why we have our own foundation, not because I have some other thoughts about it, and I think it's a really important thing for the core community, for the general foundation of the Monero. They had been received more than 10,000 Monero during past 5 years. But now they only left around 20 Bitcoin and 6 Monero. So I think that's a problem, because even they just save around 20% of the donation. Now it's still can keep roughly more than $1 million US, and for each year the cash flow gonna support us, but now only just 20,000 US. I think that's a problem. So what we gonna do? We gonna use our own ways to help the community. Our foundation will not pay any people worked for us. We only pay the cost of the rent, because when you're operating a mining pool or exchange, you have to pay the rent of the cloud service cost. We only pay that part, not pay the labors. And we try to make something can can it's gonna operating by itself. I don't know whether you get it or not. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure I followed you on the last part. So you're saying for the foundation that you're a part of isn't receiving as much money as it was. Can you explain that a little more?
Okay, I'm gonna explain a little bit more. So, for this days, our core community, they use the CCS, the system, right? So for just give me a second. I'm gonna organize this in my words again. So,
I think he means that.
It's just like everyone can get benefit from the developers, right? Anyone can get the benefit from all the programmers and the other peoples, but only some of them do the donation.
Right. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah, not everybody is contributing, but people were. There was more contributions a while ago, is what you're saying?
Yeah. So what I gonna do? I think it's just like you operating a restaurant. Everybody can come here, have dinner, have a lunch, and we hire professional cookers, the chef and the waiters. We all the income. The only income is the tips. We don't charge that. So I don't think it's a good system, good ecosystem. It's we are not the communist, right? So what I gonna do? I gonna set up the foundation. It can grow up by itself, and it can bring the cash flow for us each year. As you can see, if we have $1 million USD, even the interest is 5%, we gonna have 50,000 USD each year. It's gonna last forever. So I think the cash flow is a very important thing. So we gonna use another way to help our community to do better in the future. Yeah.
Jindouyun, you want to explain that a little bit more, and then also further talk about your perception of the community?
Sure. Firstly, I'd like to add some extra information on the question that how much is the Chinese community. I get involved with Monero community and early in 2018. And at that time, I found there are more than 30 QQ groups about mining. So there are two different groups in Chinese community. One is about mining, and another one is about discussing the technique or the vision about the Monero. So the topics and the style of two groups are very, very different. And for the group about mining, there are more than 30 groups, and they are run by each mining pools operator, like F2 pool, or just like the support Monero's administrator, something like that. And honestly speaking, I think they are not very, I'm not sure the loyalty is the right word, or they are not stick to the Monero, because once there are some coin which are more profitable, they can easily switch their hash rate to them. And after the RandomX integrated to the mainnet, there are less GPU miners, but more CPU miners. And we are glad to see many newcomers and laymen about cryptos. They're surprised by that. They can use their laptop or PC to mine Monero. So this is why we raise our funds and to build a full node on the server and trying to build a mining pool in China to serve them. And for another community, they discuss about techniques and visions and the development of Monero most of the time. And these groups are mostly led by the Mr. Scott. So I can't give the precise number on how big is the Chinese community, but I think there are about several thousand or maybe about 10K. And for me, I work in a media company in a blog industry, and I write 2 reports about Monero twice a week. And because there are many people in China who care about Monero, but for some reasons, for instance, they are not able to read the information in English, or they cannot have the network which is accessible to the Twitter, Reddit. So I collect the information on Reddit from the Twitter and somewhere else, and to write reports twice a week to share with them. That's the work I do in the daily life. And about Mr. Scott's part, I think he is expressing his concern about the sustainability of our Monero's funding, because Monero is not a company like Zcash or some other cryptos. So the only cash flow is from the donations. And to let the Monero sustain for a long period of time, we need to let more people know the Monero. And for the people who are already in this community, we are trying to get them more involved, like they make their own donations as well.
Mm-hmm. So what brought you guys to Monero? Obviously, so you're saying a lot of the people that are in Monero that are in China are really there just to mine and speculate is what I'm hearing. But it sounds like you guys are there more for the technology and the fact that it's digital cash. What brought you guys to Monero? Why do you guys see that as being important? Why are you guys interested in the technology? Jindouyun, if you want to go first.
Who?
We'll continue, I guess, with Jindouyun.
Okay. Yes. Before at the beginning, I joined this company. We have to choose some cryptos project to follow to cover. Like everyone follow 3 or 4 projects. At that time, I'm interested in privacycoin, but there are a group of privacy coins like Zcash, Zcoin, and after a period of investigation, I think Monero is my best interest. I like the techniques, and their privacy by default. And the way they run the community is very decentralized. Everyone in the Reddit, they are very patient and nice. Even sometimes I ask some noob questions, and they are very nice to answer that. So I like community, I like technique here, and I love to see Monero getting better. So that's why I get involved with Monero at the first time.
Why were you interested in privacy coins to begin with?
In cryptos, there are many areas. There are smart contract, privacy coins, and there are sidechain. There are many other areas. I found privacy coin is very of strong demand. Like every day, everybody is talking about the Bitcoin. But imagine that if one day the Bitcoin really gets the mass adoption, like everyone use the Bitcoin for daily transaction, like Visa or Alipay in China, there is a huge problem, is that our financial privacy get exposed. Like if I go to the shop to buy a drink or something, the retailer can see my account, they can see my balance, they can see my historical transactions. I think it's not safe, and it sounds weird that everyone use a very transparent financial ledger to do that. So I think privacy matters.
Do you think this is something that people in China overall will start to care about? I mean, obviously, in China, people use things like WeChat and these other very centralized services for communicating and making payments that are essentially controlled by the government, is my understanding. But do you
Yes.
think that sentiment is changing and they see the value in a system like Monero that helps them preserve their privacy?
I think the current status is that most of people are willing to exchange their privacy for the safety or for the convenience to chat or to do transactions. But the recent years, the topics of privacy has been talked much in China. Actually, our messages on WeChat, they can be censored by the government, and if I'm not sure the similar thing would happen in US or in somewhere. Like if one day you've been to a new city and you go to the cars retailer, and maybe for like something like a Chevrolet, and after that you would find that many car retailers of other company would call you, because they have the retailer in the Chevrolets have sold your data, sold your contacts, sold your information to the other retailers, like in Mercedes-Benz or BMW. They may think you are the potential customer of the car, and they are very this problem are quite common in China. So people are annoyed by those problems and they care about privacy more and more.
Becky, you want to jump in there and comment on these issues?
You mean about the privacy in China, or
About the fact that Monero is, we don't like to even call it a privacy coin on this show. We just like to call it digital cash. But the fact is it has this feature of privacy. Do you see value in that? Is that what drew you to Monero, or is there something else that drew you to Monero in terms of its technology? And then the follow-up question is, do you think people in China in general are interested or will become interested in these features that Monero offers?
The first one is, you mean how what attract me for Monero or bring me to this community? I think it's what I'm a Chinese teacher, so I often need to receive the money from overseas. So, there is a problem. So with the SWIFT system, the cost of international transaction is quite high. So at that time, some of my students, they are actually engineers. Maybe since 3 years ago, some of my students, they were trying to pay me by like Bitcoin or Monero or something else. So I think, this is a good idea. So I realized that this is a quite nice system with lower cost. And after that, I read a lot of the materials about cryptocurrencies, and I found that this is a quite interesting system. And because generally speaking, I think cryptocurrencies are more convenient than the general bank system. But after a while, I realized the Monero is quite special. I think it's much more special than any other coins, because compared to other coins, I used to work in the blockchain medias. Compared to other coins, they more likely to talk about the price or the marketing, or most to attract the emotion of the public. But for Monero, from my experience to contact with the Monero community, I think most of them are just talking about the technology, which attract me a lot. I myself am not an engineer. I don't know anything about the code, but the idea of the coding and the engineering is quite attractive for me. So that's how I involved in this community. About the privacy in China, I would think now China is experiencing like a special period, because now, like especially in the past 20 or 30 years, the ideas of Chinese people changed a lot. So I would divide the Chinese people into different groups. Like for those like really traditional Chinese people, I think it's not that easy for them to accept the concept of privacy. But for people who are more open-minded, who are influenced by like some kind of Western culture, or who are trying to like enjoy their life better, they care more about the privacy. Especially in these years, I think those spends interrupt our life a lot. So for example, like once every day, every few days, I think I can receive a call from somebody I don't know. Then I think it's like they steal my information from somewhere. So I think if our life are interrupted by these kind of things, I think people in China will care more privacy than before.
Scott,
okay,
Scott, you want to give your opinion on these topics?
Yes.
So basically, what got you into Monero? What attracted you to Monero? And then the follow-up question being, do you think China in general, the Chinese populace in general, cares about the utility that Monero offers in terms of being a privacy coin?
Okay. The first question, everything of Monero attract me. That's because, for example, for the Bitcoin, you just mentioned about the digital cash or digital gold. For the cash or gold, it's a fungibility stuff. But for now, only Monero can have the factors of that. For the rest, it's just like a car without the wheel. It's really weird stuff. The only useful is just they use it make it like a story. The king, the new clothes story. The king is negative, but they call the same thing happened in Bitcoin. And another thing is about the miners. For us, we have a tail. Even the 2020, we have 0.6 reward for each block. But I think that's a very important thing. Because for the gold, once the miner dig out the gold gonna be very stable. For 100 years or 1,000 years, it's gonna be gold forever. But for Bitcoin, not work like that. One miners, the security system gonna be very poor. But if they have 10,000 or 1 million miners decentralized in different places, the whole system gonna be quite strong and hard for the 51% attack. So that's quite an important thing. And so the Bitcoin and other cryptos have a lot of issues. I think in the long run, the market can bury them by themselves. The Monero gonna survive in the end because we can developing all the time. Our community can have the half-year hard fork and no new coins, and the community by ourselves not separated by different parts and against each other, like BSV or BCH and so on. So I think we are a group of smart people really do something to change the world. So I want to join the Monero community. And the second question is you ask whether the Chinese people care about the privacy. I think most of them they don't care about it. They don't even have the wallet by themselves. They just stole the coins in exchange. Yeah, that's true. And they have no idea what's the private key, what's the public key, what's the difference. They have no idea. When people jumped up said, "Oh, we are the open source wallet," and they just believe it. They never they just trust. They don't verify by themselves. Another thing bring my to Monero is because at the first I just like others I heard about Bitcoin and I think wow, that's a great project. That's a great mission they want to achieve. But when I researched deeper and deeper, I found too much issues, and they just tell you just hold, and you're gonna be rich. So that can't persuade me. So I think the Monero is the only crypto we should be interested in. Yeah.
So we spoke about privacy, but how about the kind of the real world use of a privacy coin in a place like China? So maybe perhaps to circumvent capital controls of money. Do you see people potentially using it for that purpose? I don't know if any of you wants to jump in there on that topic. So this idea of, people in China that may want to hide money. So not so much like privacy in terms of caring about corporations knowing how you're spending your money, but more so about the government knowing how you're spending your money and how much money you have and being able to track every transaction you have, and essentially not allowing you to truly own and control your own money. But with something like Monero, it's basically gold in your pocket that you can send to anywhere in the world without the government stopping you from doing so. So I imagine there's wealthy people in China that might see value in that as ways to move money out of the country or to freely transact. Do you see that as being a use case that people in China will become aware of and interested in, if not already?
Yeah, I want to answer that question. I think the first thing is it's not just like in China have the problems. I think it's a global things. Not only the authority auditing how you use the money and tracing and analyze your cash flow. I think all the banks, even in New Zealand, if you trade with other people, once they identified it's gonna be frozen your bank account. So that's a problem. I think a lot of people are interested into it, the Monero and Bitcoins. But the big problem is nowadays it's getting harder and harder to deposit the money and the cash flow. The Bitcoin is better than us in this area because in local Bitcoins, you can trade, you can to send the money and receive money from the overseas and can hide your money. But for Monero, it's a little bit hard. So we want to make it better in the future.
Right. I mean, I think Monero is a better technology for that purpose. But I guess what you're saying is the liquidity and the ability to obtain the Monero easily and send it, or in terms of value, right? I guess you're talking about a liquidity issue in terms of Monero. Is that versus Bitcoin? Is that the issue you're getting at?
Because yes, the how to say that? Yeah, it's Monero in the technology area. It's perfect. But if I introduce someone want to buy Monero, he or she gonna find it's really difficult to buy, because in China we don't have exchange. Can deposit the money and withdraw the money. In China, we don't have the exchange like Coinbase or some other exchange. They gonna use the VPN or do the, because when you cash flow the money, when you sell your coins, you may receive the dirty money. So the banks gonna know. So I think it's harmful for how us to use it in real lives. We yes, because it's great things, but how can they get it? That's a problem. We have to face it, because once the government or the banks do not allow you buy it, and they know everything, they always watch. So some of people, they just afraid of it. They don't want to make any trouble, or you manage the coin, you get the profit when you sell it, and you may receive the dirty money. So I think this stops some people to jump in the whole system. Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a sec. So what is the state of exchanges in China? So are they legal? Are they legal but only for certain cryptocurrencies? What is the current state of legality in China regarding cryptocurrency, and in particular people's ability to purchase it and sell it, and the means of which they do it? Becky, you want to jump in there and answer that one?
The point is, in the year 2017, there was a big issue in China. The government actually created a law for the cryptocurrencies, so they forbid to buy and sell the cryptocurrencies. That's why. So nearly most of the exchanges went to other countries and set up the company there. So since then, I actually haven't trained online for a while. But the point is, this year the Chinese government actually had a new law. Our president actually supports us to develop the technology of blockchain, but they don't like any of the cryptocurrencies to develop the coins in China, because the Central Bank of China is developing their own cryptocurrencies now. So there is like a competition between the authority and the cryptocurrencies as a decentralized organization. They don't want to lose the right. So we will see what happens. But right now, cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, is not legal in China. But blockchain, the technology, is supported by the government.
Yeah, I know we've heard this through the years, and we watched the market react to it. Bitcoin is legal. Bitcoin is not illegal. Bitcoin, the Chinese government now supports Bitcoin, but wait, no, they meant blockchain technology. So it is kind of hard to figure out what's going on there. But so then, practically speaking, how hard is it for people in China to acquire cryptocurrency right now? Is it difficult for them to acquire it and trade it?
You are talking about the general people or special people. For people who are really want to involved in the cryptocurrencies, I think there is a way for them to organize it. But for general people, it's quite difficult. I think even for me, especially for cryptocurrencies like Monero, I think the barrier of Monero is much higher than other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Yeah, because it requires many, knowledges. It's not only a simple chain. So you have to know a lot. And I think maybe for Bitcoins is better because the Bitcoin community is much bigger in China and they have more Chinese materials. But 1 year ago, I remember nearly no Chinese materials for Monero. So you don't know how to buy, where to buy, how to register. You don't know anything. So, but this year, I think things are going to be better because of Jindouyun, because of Mr. Scott. So we actually translated a lot of materials, but that is not enough. So now we also have the Uki wallet, which is good. So Uki actually did a really good job, and we tested Uki wallet. So it's a wallet completely in Chinese and based on the blockchain. So which is really good for Monero. Before wallet, I also test other wallet. So like a Cake wallet, My Monero, or GUI wallet. So some of them are part translated. Some of them are completely in English. And some of them can only, download it on PC, but maybe not on iPhone because many of those apps like Monero or foreign apps, you can't download with a Chinese iPhone ID. So, which makes the barrier of buying Monero much higher than now. With the Wookie wallet, we actually at least have a place to put our Monero in. So, which is much better. I think the things will be better in the coming 1 year because they are actually will do a lot of other things to simplify the process of buying Monero. But still, I know that many of those exchanges don't want to sell or, don't offer the service anymore, which will be, more difficult. We will see what happens in next year. Yeah, maybe Mr. Scott and Jindo, you want to add more?
Yeah,
before
I'd
that,
like to add.
Jindo, 1 second. I just want to talk about the wallets for 1 second. So, because you mentioned in your article as well, Becky, that that I guess that it's not as easy to access the wallets because they're not on the app stores. So, because I reached out to Cake, for example, to ask his opinion on that. I think his understanding is it's in the wild in China, and they had added, I know, Chinese translations. So what did you mean exactly by that? So is Wookie kind of the only wallet that people are using, and it's because they don't have easy access to these other wallets, or what is the situation?
Yes, it's just because of the easy access. Because I try with my PC, my computer, my Android phone, my iPhone. So I can only download GUI wallet and my Monero on my Windows system. For like Cake wallet or some other wallet, they either offer to download on like a Google Play or the iPhone App Store, which we can't download without an overseas ID because they remove all these apps from the Chinese ID, App Store. So, which makes the barrier quite high for common Chinese people. But maybe for people who can, visit Google or like Facebook easily, it's not a problem. But for general Chinese people, especially, we don't have a spirit of doing research. So it's quite difficult. I think if we want more general Chinese people to use Monero, it's very important for us to offer them a very easy way, just like step to get them how to buy, how to sell, how to use Monero. It's not like you have to do a long research and then you go to the step and to use Monero. That's quite difficult to popularize Monero in China. And I think that is what we are doing now. Okay.
Jindouyun, you want to jump in there? You were about to say something before.
Oh yeah, I'd like to talk about the difficulty on acquiring the wallet and exchanges app in China. I think the issue is different upon what kind of device you are using. For example, if you are an iPhone user, it will be much more difficult because in China there are network restrictions, and the iPhone store, they have some like policy to decide which kind of app could be distributed through their own channel. So for many wallets, crypto wallets, and the exchanges app, you need, if you are Chinese, you will need an ID, Apple ID outside China, like an ID from USA, and this cause a big barrier for the common people to download the wallet and exchanges app from iPhone. But if you are like an Android user, it will be much easy because many wallets will release their APK setup to set up the wallet and exchange. Like Wiki Wallet, they release their APK on their official website. So there is no restrictions on acquiring the wallet. And for the exchanges, I think all exchanges run by Chinese team go overseas nowadays, but we can still use the Binance, 4B, and OKX only if you can acquire the app. And for the Windows and Mac, I think the GUI is the best choice, and there are no network restrictions. GitHub is not banned from China. Yeah.
So have things essentially then cooled down a lot in terms of crypto? From what I'm hearing is it sounds like things kind of went a little more underground now, given the new regulations that came out in China, or the announcements, and the fact that now China's saying they're pro blockchain technology, but they're not pro Bitcoin, pro Monero. They're not into true cryptos. So have things kind of receded then, and has there been like kind of a retreat where people are still doing these things? You guys are obviously involved. You're saying there's a Monero community, but have things cooled down because of that?
I think after the President Xi's speaking, like Chinese government should promote the blockchain technology. There are many institutions in blockchain industry get subsidies from government, but at the same time, the government are fighting cryptos more fiercely. Like I think it was in the November or December last year, many exchanges runs under they silently runs in Shanghai and Beijing. They are get executed, or they are closed by the Chinese government. And for the community, I think it won't have much effect on the community members, because most of community members, they won't issue coin, they don't run the exchanges. So I think they are not affected by the policy. That's my observation.
Okay. What do you guys have any insight as to why the Chinese government is exploring or interested in creating their own cryptocurrency? It seems like they already control the money and obviously all the transactions. It seems like most people are transacting digitally through apps and things that they control already. So why would they want a cryptocurrency that's not really a cryptocurrency that they essentially control? That would seem like a less efficient version of what they're already have achieved. Any insight there on that?
China is about to release their own digital currency called DCEP, DCEP. I think the reason why they issue this kind of digital cash is not about improving our the transaction experience in domestic. There is a popular idea that the Chinese government releasing their own digital cash is about to compete with the US dollars, because they intend to improve the globalization of the RMB is very important from perspective of Chinese government. And for many reasons, the US dollars has dominated the global market for, I think, for decades. And I think the reason is to gain some more competency of the RMB in the global market.
But could they ultimately, in effect, create an on-ramp to true cryptocurrencies? So once a digital Chinese currency exists, then with things like decentralized exchanges, won't you see people using that to then purchase true cryptos? Do you think that could be a potential possibility? So it becomes an on-ramp to these more real crypto projects like Monero and Bitcoin. Do you guys have any comments there?
I think I didn't catch your meaning. Sorry.
I guess what I'm go ahead, Scott.
I can answer that question, but as I know, the digital currency created by the authority, it's not used for the normal the citizens, just for the central bank and the business bank. So they only not for the normal people use. And I don't think they really know what is blockchain. They just have some new idea come into their mind. They as the Jindouyun mentioned, they want to compact with the American because of the business war or something like that. They just want to develop a new weapon to against the world, or make their economic more strong or something like that. Because I can't imagine a centralized organization issue a decentralized currency. So it won't be worked. So we shouldn't worry too much about that. That's what I thought. It's just like Facebook, the label, it's just the same thing. They think they know something about the crypto, but definitely not.
Exactly, that's what I was trying to get at, and then my follow-up question was, do you think it could backfire and lead to people actually getting into true cryptos because of it? But I guess what you're saying is the idea is that it's not even going to be meant for the people. It's going to be something that's kind of running on the back end.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking. Because it's just an idea, and I read some articles. It just say only for the banks, the central banks, when they issue the money, they how to say that, borrow and lend and get back the money from the central bank. That, not for the general people. And I don't think because for these days, even use the Alipay or the Visa, it's difficult for us to buy the crypto. So how can we use the central bank digital, just like And I think it's gonna be worse in the future. In that way, they're gonna cut down all the cash, so it's gonna be even worse to get the people to buy the real digital currency. So I think that's why it's so important for everyone can miner the Monero with our computers. So not the professional ASIC machines. Yeah, that's all.
How about, we had, everything that was going on in Hong Kong. You saw kind of the people uprising there. Is that bringing to the forefront to people's minds and realization that technologies like this can help people in those situations? Are people thinking about that, talking about that in mainland China? How this can be used as a tool to subvert governments and fund people that are taking political actions that the government may be against?
Well, that question, it's a little bit dangerous to answer. I don't.
Don't want to get anybody in trouble here. We could skip that question.
I can try to use a safety way to answer the question. Sometimes even our WeChat group, we separate different groups just in case they shut down us. Even we just talk about the crypto things, and I worried about my Weibo account every day. I just worried if I wake up and they just shut down my account because they don't like the cryptocurrency topics. Because I think the account of BN's already be shut down, and another people the Justin Sun, the Trump shut down too. So even that topic can be dangerous, and for the Hong Kong news, because they control the medium. So you know what I'm talking. They control the medium. So the people inside China watch TV or newspaper and cell phone, social media. The thing is not like we saw on the YouTube or Twitter. So I don't think most of the Chinese people have the same ideas with the global people. Or we can talk about the North Korea. The North Korea, all the people living in North Korea think the Kim is a great person. It's a great leader. They think the South Korea is a very poor country. It's so I think in this case you can understand better. Of you everything in your life, your teacher, your parents, your friends, your everything. It's if they control everything, and every people tell you about it's kind of the North Korean people brainwashed. Okay, so I don't think that case can increase the demand of Monero. I don't think so. I don't. That's yeah.
Becky, do you want to talk about some of these issues?
I actually, yeah. I mean about the issue in Hong Kong. We just heard some on the medias. We don't. I mean, for mainland of China, maybe we don't talk about that much. As Mr. Scott said, this is a quite sensitive issue. So I know that Noblesse, the translator of getmonero.org, he told me many of his accounts were blocked by the platform. So they actually, medias in China, they have the right to close your account. So, and the government, if the government mean to forbid us, so they have to cooperate with the government. So in our groups, we prefer to talk about the technology or the community building more than such kind of sensitive issues. So we can still there exist. Yeah, that's my opinion.
That makes sense. Jindouyun, you want to chime in on that?
I also want to skip the political issue since it's very sensitive. And for technology one, I think different people from different country, their ideas or their thoughts are formed by their education and the information they received. And in many countries or some country, the government only want to share the information which they willing to let you know. And so the people are likely to form a kind of idea which are very exclusive to other cultures. And things like that about open source, like the VPN or the cryptocurrency or digital cash that is borderless. It can transfer information, transfer through different countries. I think it's a good tool for people to build the concept that they are biased and they need to be more open. I think that's the good part of the cryptocurrency. And talking back about the Chinese government's digital cash, I think there is one advantage for Monero, because many people in China think that Monero or other cryptocurrency or other digital cash are scam. And if one day they saw their own government releasing legitimate digital cash, and they may change their idea. Oh, the digital cash is good, is great, and then they may think more like they should try other cash. I think that's one thing which the DCEP can bring some benefits to Monero.
Are there any other cryptos in China that are particularly popular for any reason? Obviously, we all agree that Monero is a valuable project, a valuable technology for all the reasons we're discussing. But China at large, the crypto community in China, are there any particular coins that they're most interested in, and for what reasons?
I think the Bitcoin dominates. If you look at the Baidu, which is the Chinese version of Google, and if you look at the index of search engine, the searching amount of the Bitcoin is much larger than the searching of other digital cash like Ethereum. And since most of the people who care about the crypto, they are for profit. So besides Bitcoin, they are likely to be attracted by some coins which may pumped by several times in a month. I think this kinds of coins would attract them. And for Monero and for some other digital cash, which the team are very dedicated. They build the codes, they constantly evolve themselves. But if they don't do much more promotion, and that won't attract most of Chinese people. That's from my observation.
Becky, do you want to chime in on that as well?
What was your question? Sorry.
Basically talking about the popularity of other coins in China, Bitcoin being the most popular. I guess which other coins do you see as being popular in China, and for what reasons?
I think most of the people in China who are interested in cryptocurrencies are more, I think, two biggest groups. One big group is for mining. Another big group is for investment. So I think for the mining group is more, how to say, is more about technology, or they see more than the part who is just for investment. You know, the Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency in the whole industry. And actually in recent years, except Monaro, obviously the core team, the members in core from the Western countries. So I think if without many materials, so it's not that popular in China. But instead, in recent years, there are many other new, what we call the cryptocurrency programs in China. I do think most of them are just fake. They are doing nothing. They are just want to sell their coins and want to collect money from people. But the point is, for general Chinese people, I think it's not easy for them to judge which is good, which is not. So because for common Chinese people, mostly just judge from the price, or judge from from the price, from the availability of the coins in China. So there are many other new coins actually. So I can't remember those names though, because too many coins. If you log in any of the exchanges that's available to the public in China, you will realize many new coins are published in these years, but not a lot of them are really, valuable, or really, really, how to say that? Like they are not really talk about the technology. They are just there and collect money from people.
Just marketing.
But for coins that are similar to Monero, I think Dash or Zcash is more popular than Monero. But I heard that Zcash or Dash, they are not a real decentralized project, because they are promoted by a company, or they have their own investors. That's why they have the money to support. So with the similar technology, and Monero is a real, decentralized community. So it's maybe at the beginning it's more difficult for us to organize the promotion, but now I think more and more people are involved. And the good thing is, for people who are really want to involved in the Monero community, they really like this coin, like the technology, like the ideology of this project. They are not here just for money, because I do believe that if you just do for the short profit, you can't support the long profit. So just like what Mr. Scott said. So I think that's the good thing. Yeah. Mr. Scott, maybe.
Okay, all right. As they said, too many coins in China, and most of them are just shit coins. I don't think they are really popular, or someone will like it. I think maybe Bitcoin maybe have some real fans. But I don't like their community either, because if they are smart people, they should find the Bitcoin's problems and issues. But as Howard said, some people just too stupid for words. That's real thing. they don't know what they really got in their hand. So I think it's gonna take more time and more education. And another thing, Jindouyun and FutureFan didn't mention it. You can just simply see the price list of all the coins. I think without the Chinese people, the repo, the BCH, the BSV, and the EOS, and so on, the all these projects can't reach that high. I think behind them are all not the general people. They just the players, They make a scam to and highly control the coins and tell the stories everywhere. I think because we are really decentralized organization, so no one can get any benefit from it. So that causes less of people do the promotion. And even us, when we write article at the first, someone wants just say no. Why should you do that? You can't get any benefit from it. Yeah, that's sad thing. But I think in the bear market we can last longer than us because we don't need money at first, right? Because they are the company project. Once they don't have the income, the cash flow, or no one buys their coins or to buy the new shit coins instead of them. So I think they gonna die, and we gonna survive in the end. We gonna win, and you can see that Jindouyun and I and FutureFan still very young. We just we can keep fighting another 10 years. Yeah, so don't worry too much about that.
That's a very good point. Yeah, during the bear market, the coins that are run by passionate people that actually believe in the technology and the project just continue to chug along because everybody just is building for the sake of building technology. How about we talked about it a little bit, but I just want to bring it up more. The meme of digital gold and the fact that Bitcoin is often described as being digital gold. Obviously, on this show, we think Monero functions even better than digital gold than Bitcoin does for the reasons that it's fungible. Is that expressed well in the Chinese community? So people that are first discovering Monero, do they know that Monero is the coin that's like digital gold, that's like digital cash? Do you think that point's getting across?
I think most of people, they have no idea about that, but we keep talking to them, and for me, I just keep searching the Bitcoin maximalist. When they said they accept the Bitcoins, I gonna tracing and analyze all the details of the translate and the format and show other people's how crazy if you really use Bitcoin in real life. I try to let more people to notice that, but the thing is, just like the BSV, the Australian Bitcoin, in past days, the price just doubled and tripled, So a lot of people, they don't care about it. They just, this is amazing. Oh, Monero is good, but why the price so low? So you know what I'm trying to say. We just keep fighting on it. Yeah, and I think, as I said, the time is on our side, and we have a lot of things to do make us better, like the deposit and the withdrawal channel, and I think we need our own exchange. As the Monero gonna be the main pairs. Otherwise, like the Coinbase or Binance or whatever, one day they just to delist your Monero. So I think a lot of things we can do, make our better and better. And I think we don't need to spend too much time to education the people. I think the free market gonna education them. Just like the smartphone, you don't need to tell how powerful the iPhone, the smartphone. One day they better than the past years the Nokia. Just they gonna know it in the future, and just like the train, when the train first came out, maybe Yun can have me relax, expand that. Yeah. So I think it's gonna take some time.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the we say the cream will rise to the top, so the best technology will ultimately win. So it shouldn't need to be marketed, but it certainly helps because you're also fighting a network effect. So, you have something that like Bitcoin that has established a network effect, and your technology may be better, but you need to also overcome that network effect. And that really does take marketing and being able to get the ideas out there to people so they onboard to your network and leave the existing network. But I think this was a great chat. I appreciate all of you coming on here, and I know it's much different hours. Where can people in the Western Monero community potentially link up with you guys or learn more about the Chinese Monero community? Are there any resources or places where we could go at least to learn about what's going on over there?
Yeah. I have a Twitter. I have Twitter to introduce all the news from the Chinese community, and we have the Weibo channel and the different channel. We have several different channels and operating by different peoples. I'm gonna make a list, pump on the Twitter, and you guys can find us anytime. You can find us. Anything you need help, you want to translate something into simplified Chinese, we can do that in the future.
That's great. Jindouyun, you have any resources or links you want to talk about where people can, I guess, either learn more about what you're doing or learn more about the Chinese community in general?
Well, I write reports twice per week to our community. They are in Chinese, so I directly share the link to the Wechat, to the QQ group. And for the people in Western community, if they are interested in Chinese community, I think they could go to the link. I suggest Mr. Scott to post their links on the Twitter and Reddit after the talk. And Weibo is good. Weibo is really great. And we also translated the Mastering Monero, and I would post a link to on the Reddit later.
Thank you. Great work on that, by the way. I mean, that's a big deal that you guys did that. Becky, any final thoughts and resources or links that you want to mention for people to learn about?
I think if we want to closer the relationship between the Western community and the Chinese community, it's easier for Western people to download an English version WeChat than we download Skype, because I actually need to log in with the overseas app to download my Skype, and like Facebook and YouTube, we can't visit without a VPN. So most of our Chinese community members communicate in our WeChat groups. So I also create a media, publish articles on Jianshu. That's the media. But we also share, like Jindouyun, like Mr. Scott, all of us share our links in our WeChat groups. So that's the easiest way if engineers or people from the Western community want to communicate with the Chinese community, because to download a WeChat is easier, because that's the easiest way for the general public to communicate.
That's a very good point. All right, so yeah, I hope that gets out to the Monero community here in the West. We'll put links as well in the show notes. We'll probably be following up with you guys with emails for links to add to the show notes as well. All right, but thanks again. Thanks everybody for coming on. Good luck with everything. Thanks for the great work you guys are doing over there. And I hope to be hearing more from you and the Chinese Monero community in general. Good luck, guys.
Okay,
Thank you. Good day.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode. We release new episodes every week. You can find and subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you have an Alexa device, you can tell it to listen to the latest episode of the Monero Talk podcast. Go to monerotalk.live/subscribe for a full list of places where you can watch and listen. If you want to interact with us, guests, or other podcast listeners, you can follow us on Twitter. And please leave us a review on iTunes. It helps people find the show, and we are always happy to read them. So thanks so much, and we look forward to being back next week.